Hello there, dudes and dudettes. It's MenvyWings coming at you from the Wild Rift. Now, it's more crowded than ever. The servers are absolutely rammed. In fact, getting a game, even in, sort of plat, emerald, or diamond, is proving quite time consuming. Usual queue times, they tend to be around sort of 20, maybe 30 seconds at a stretch for myself. And honestly, right now, during sort of, all the new players flying in, it's been 80 seconds or above. It's, it's been a struggle. No, but in all honesty, I've played basically for the entirety of the day. I couldn't even tell you how many games. I want to say it's at least 20 today. Probably a lot more. So we started off the day with just about falling out of Emerald into Platinum. So that's Emerald 4. And we are currently in a very steady high Emerald 3. Honestly, 2 more wins and I'm Emerald 2. So the quest for Diamond continues, and it's all thanks to Mundo. In fact, one of the sort of big problems that I found in sort of high platinum or low emerald is the so-called ego player. Now, we all know him. He tends to be a Yasou. Well, speaking of Yasou, we've got one in mid. But no, honestly, this one has been absolutely amazing. Couple of pings and he's backing me up to get Scuttle. I don't mind this one, he knows what he's doing. Well, aside from the fact that he actually stole it, so we didn't like that. But we got him first blood. We killed the enemy jungler, so that's off to a good start. But as we were saying, ego players. So one of the sort of big problems is that no one wants to play anything tanky. Everyone wants to be sort of, the epic player with quadra or penta kills, and honestly, that's pretty impossible if you don't have a tank on your team. And, well, no one wants to tank. They all want to be on the scoreboard with, 20, 30 kills, and even if that means a loss. So, yeah. And if you're wondering as to what's actually happening in sort of top/bot right now, we do have Leona and Ziggs. Ziggs is playing as, quote-unquote, the ADC. Now, this is honestly not an issue at all. In fact, during sort of champion selection, he did ask whether he can play Ziggs, and honestly, I had a really good feeling about it. Like, first of all, if you're in champion selection and someone actually types a coherent sentence rather than just, being silent or, some gibberish, that's already a good start. Now, if that player says, hey, I want to play Ziggs, hell, why not? Okay? I keep saying Emerald is a pretty sort of, low rank. So, honestly, even if we don't have a quote-unquote proper ADC, we do have, YOLO Yasuo. He can basically AD carry, and now if Ziggs wants to AP carry instead of an ADC role, I see nothing wrong with that. Okay, he's been doing absolutely amazing. But if I'm totally honest, after sort of, playing 1 or 2 games with him, after this match, I will say it was all thanks to Leona. Leona, again, the tanky champion, has carried us to this pretty flawless win. But as I was saying, the main issue and why I happen to absolutely love Mundo right now is primarily because Mundo wins me games. He really does. No one wants to play anything tanky, and honestly, there's nothing tankier than Mundo. I was rocking Graves, but honestly, that has proven to be quite difficult, as you know, especially when there's zero sort of like engaged champions, or you know, again, tanky champions. I'm just another carry playing Graves. Now I did switch to Gragas for a little bit. I have seen some success, but if I'm totally honest, it didn't feel that impactful. And the big issue that I found is how sort of slow Gragas is. And I couldn't really, not that I couldn't engage, but I wasn't that impactful in team fights that, you know, weren't necessarily sort of like ARAM style. Now, you know, ARAM I can do, but if they're running away, I'm pretty much fucked as Gragas. So we had to move on to something else. Now, I have been watching a shit ton of jungling tutorials, or sort of like coaching sessions, if you will. Now, every single sort of, you know, coaching slash jungler coach does suggest Mundo for lower ranks, and I can certainly see why. He's just a little power farming train. Just comes out of the jungle, you know, for 20 seconds, takes a tower, maybe a kill, goes back in. For the next 5 minutes, you basically don't see him. And honestly, it works. It works wonders. Towards the end of the video, I will sort of display sort of my wins and rates for Mundo. And once again, I want to say that I essentially picked up this champion today. In fact, I only ever played this champion today. And we are, like I said, sort of around 20 games so far. I will laugh so hard if like I've only played like 5 when we sort of like go back onto the actual stats. But no, it definitely feels like a lot more. It's a pretty easy champion. It's essentially really simple. You know, just start queuing, just stick to your target. Your W is always on, and just go nuts. Continuously auto-attacking until they die. That is pretty much Mundo. Now, when Mundo exhales, is pretty much his ability to cause chaos on sort of the enemy backline. Just the sheer fact that, you know, you're burning, smacking on an ADC, even though you're not doing that much damage, in these sort of ranks, they tend to panic. And if they're panicking, they're likely targeting you. Now do keep in mind, Mundo, his ultimate essentially, if you're playing him right, makes him invincible for, let's say, a decent sort of 15-20 seconds. Definitely enough if you build armor for an ADC to, well, you'll be able to shrug them off. And that means your team can actually peel and not worry about, you know, dying. Which is pretty easy to do given the sheer amount of assassins and carries that everyone wants to play. So if you can sort out the one issue, i.e. them dying, or, you know, having to worry about being picked off by the ADCs or some other carry, Mundo is essentially an excellent solution. Not to mention, you know, the fact that he's an absolute power farmer. So you won't actually be intruding on any of their sort of lane slash XP slash gold. Just stick to your jungle, your clears pretty fast, make sure to grab the scuttles, come out of jungle for objectives, i.e. Dragon, Rift, maybe counter gank, although, yeah, I haven't really been doing much of that. The only sort of like time that I do come out of sort of the jungle is for important fights. Then I go back in. Seems to be working out, but then again, I'm no diamond, I'm no master, who knows? Maybe this won't work, or in fact, this probably will not work higher up. But if you're looking to climb, I highly recommend Mundo. This champion is honestly a breeze to learn, and it's also very forgiving. Primarily just for, you know, for his ultimate, but also because there's just few sort of quote-unquote core rules you should follow when playing Mundo, and one of sort of the more primary ones is, well, it goes back to the ultimate. If your ultimate is down, don't do anything. Like, no, like, I honestly mean that, okay? The most you can do in a team fight is just throw out a couple of Qs, maybe, you know, run onto someone who's, you know, on your ADC, just, you know, you're essentially playing a very much a supportive role when your ultimate is down. Now the fun begins when your ultimate is up, or in fact when your ultimate is running. Combine that with Ghost, combine that with a couple of movement speed items, and you're having one hell of a time. Think of it as like Singed, but on steroids. And sort of like earlier on in my sort of Wild Rift adventures, seeing Singed on your team, that would essentially spell defeat. I'm not even kidding. It honestly would. Not a lot of players knew how to play him, or in fact, you know, no one really paid much attention to him. Now, I don't know if that's because silver and gold players are quote-unquote better at dealing with Singed. They're probably not. But I think it was just the lack of sort of like knowledge, or in fact even knowing what to do. Singed tends to sort of just like bait you, forcing you to sort of like chase him around. And silver and gold players tend to just hit the sort of like auto attack, or, you know, try to go for anything near them. So probably won't be Singed. Higher up, especially sort of, you know, now that I've sort of played with a couple of diamond players, honestly, Singed is pretty tough to deal with. Especially when you're sort of queuing with a higher diamond, and, you know, you do get a couple of like lower emerald players. They don't have a clue what to do about that Singed. In fact, they just sort of split off from the team fight, and, you know, two of them just go chasing Singed. It often happens that it's actually the AP carry or the AD carry, leaving your team to, well, just slowly be ripped apart, because, you know, you lack a serious damage. Well, you lack serious damage because, you know, all the carries are busy chasing the purple stink cloud. So, yeah, that's not ideal. But the point is, you're essentially like a Singed when you're playing Mundo, especially when you have Ghost, when you have a couple of movement speed items, and you also press your boots. The idea, annoy everyone, primarily the AD carries, and just hope that the rest of your sort of quote-unquote hardcore gamers, your Yasou wannabes, your Zeds, and your... There's one more that... I mean, there's Darius, but he's sort of tanky. There is one more really iconic champion. Ah, yes. I'm, of course, thinking of Akali. So, just cause chaos, wreak havoc on sort of, you know, the AP and the AD carries of the other team, and hope that the quote-unquote hardcore gamers do actually dish out some damage. That is basically Mundo 101 for sort of climbing from sort of silver and gold to your sort of, you know, emerald and potentially diamond. It's working out so far pretty well for myself. So I do hope to continue climbing with Mundo. I'll probably stick to him until I hit low diamond and just figure out whether you can actually, you know, still continue with this very much brain dead tactic of press everything, activate all your abilities, and just stick to the enemy. Now, honestly, I do want to say a little sort of like side note. It's not as brain dead as I'm making out to be. You do actually have to sort of like back away, go back in, sort of like play around your sort of ulti, regenerate, go back in, dodge. You know, there's a lot to it, and not to mention the entire time. In an ideal situation, you're going to be landing every single one of your Qs. So I am making it seem like it's brain dead, and on paper it does seem very brain dead, but there is a lot of sort of fine tuning to make sure that you're being as effective as Mundo can be, if that makes any sense. But this game is pretty much finishing. I am loving Mundo, primarily because of that absolutely amazing goofy skin. But I hope you guys have as much fun as I had playing Mundo. And as always, have a good day.
Victory!